We got a better idea. We'll page you.
Total sound sensation. Get yourself wired for sound with the Telmac Walkabout Stereo cassette player.
If you were born in the 1980s, there's no doubt you have fond and nostalgic memories of that bygone era. Deemed as some of the best years by the millennials, the 1980s were characterized by lively fashion, legendary music, and revolutionary technology. But there are more things that happened in the 80s, and what's even more surprising is that they've since faded away. Join us as we reminisce on the 21 things we did in the 1980s that have been overtaken by technology, innovations, inventions, and time. So much so that we can no longer do them. Number 1. Using phone books. The history of the phone book dates back to 1878. Then the telephone directory, commonly considered the inaugural phone book, was simply a sheet of cardboard featuring names of businesses and private people who had telephones. As the years evolved, the yellow and white pages were invented to help people find addresses and phone numbers of businesses and people. If you were young in the 1980s, you probably remember, with a lot of nostalgia, waiting for the annual delivery of the white and yellow pages with updated numbers. Even though phone books still exist, they are rarely used. Advanced technology, the internet, and the emergence of smartphones have rendered them obsolete. Nobody wants to spend a lifetime perusing through a massive book when they can search for contacts with a single Google search. Number 2. Playing arcade games. If you grew up in the golden age of arcade games, a mention of the word arcade evokes portraits of black lights, smoke-filled rooms, carpeted walls, and rows of glowing video game cabinets. The history of the arcade can be traced back to the amusement parlors, exposition midways, and dime museums of the 19th century. In the 1980s, arcades weren't just locations to play video games, they became lively social hubs, where the young met to socialize and form communities. Arcades provided a distinctive communal experience that could not be recreated by the home gaming system, which were then in their early stages. Today, the evolution of technology and easy accessibility to video games has shifted the dynamics of arcades, and with people socializing less, many opt to play games at home with a small circle of friends and loved ones, making arcades less popular. Number 3. Using pickup trucks. In the 1980s, many families, especially in America, used pickup trucks for leisurely activities, such as beach picnics, hauling boats, and camping. But the more passengers used them, the more they realized that riding in the back of a pickup posed a danger to their lives and that of their kids. So there was a demand for more space, comfort, and safety features. By the late 1980s, many people had lost their lives in car accidents worldwide, with many of those disasters involving pickup trucks. While legal vehicle safety regulations have been enacted in different countries, no law prohibits people from riding in pickup beds. However, the vehicle industry has since evolved, even though some still use pickup trucks. Today, there are more luxurious cars with enhanced safety features, leading to the declined use of the pickup truck. Number 4. Wearing leg warmers. In the 1980s, dancewear was a massive trend. There's no denying that they were stylish, practical, comfortable, and warm. What's more, they were available in multiple colors, and despite originating from the dance studios, young people started wearing them in nearly every occasion. Apart from being cozy, leg warmers left a defiant style statement that young people resonated with back then. If you were born in the 1980s, you would agree with Remember the Days that wearing leg warmers today elicits the resounding beats of an 80s dance banger. As the fashion industry evolved and new trends emerged, leg warmers started fading away pretty fast. Of course, some people still wear them today, but they aren't as popular as they were in the 1980s. Number 5. Roller skating. Believe it or not, roller skating was a means of transport in the 18th century. Initially, roller skates had wooden wheels and were quite basic compared to more advanced designs that later emerged in the 1980s. Additionally, they were less user-friendly, so maneuvering was challenging. Roller skating gained popularity in the early 20th century and became a fun recreational activity. Roller rinks started appearing throughout the United States and became popular spots for dances and social gatherings. In the mid-1980s, the roller disco emerged, where skating fanatics would groove to disco music under the twinkling lights of roller rinks. That memorable era was characterized by funky music, colorful outfits, and mind-blowing moves. At the same time, roller derby, a competitive and fast-paced sport on wheels, became a showstopper, fascinating audiences with its dramatic matches. Even though the popularity of roller skating faded in between the late 1980s and the late 1990s, it would re-emerge during the COVID-19 years. Still, it's not as popular as it was in the 80s. Number 6. Neon fashion. The 1980s were anything but dull, daring fashion trends that attracted attention defined the feeling of that era. Bright neon colors became a prominent statement. Festival lovers, partygoers, and nightlife enthusiasts preferred neons for added visibility. Back in the 80s, neon colors displayed the exuberant and playful nature of power dressing. Neon fashion suddenly became famous, influenced by the rise of music videos and MTV, progress in fabric dye technology, and a general spirit of excessiveness and optimism. Surprisingly, bright colors were not limited to one fashion area. Instead, they were embraced by everybody and appeared everywhere. While neon colors remain relevant for their playful and bold aesthetic, they are less popular today. Number 7. Renting movies. In the 1980s, stopping by video rental stores involved more than renting movies. It was a collective activity that would command the weekend's entertainment. Friends and families would meet and browse through different VHS tapes while discussing which movies to choose. The practice facilitated physical interaction with media in a manner that digital streaming has been unable to replicate. Even with its vast collection and convenience, the excitement of spotting a movie on a shelf, the dismay of discovering that a popular title was unavailable, and the visible connection to cinema are vivid memories from the 80s that Gen Zs will never experience. Number 8. Smoking in public venues. Smoking in public places like restaurants, offices, airports, or bars in the 1980s was normal. However, as people became more aware of the health risks involved for smokers and people exposed to secondhand smoke, public health organizations started advocating against smoking in public places. Some of the forces that triggered a decline in smoking include the recognition that tobacco use can result in addiction and also cause cancer. These factors have led to the dwindling social acceptance of smoking. Of course, legal restrictions have been introduced to curb smoking in public places. Increased cigarette taxes and counter-marketing campaigns from the media have been instrumental in driving smoking in public places down. Number 9. Using pagers. In the 1980s, nearly everybody, including school-going kids, had a pager. Then, cell phones weren't as popular as they are today, making the pager a convenient way to communicate with one another. Of course, the history of the pager stretches way past the 1980s. However, the original pagers were limited to a specific geographical area, explaining why they were mainly used in hospitals. It was in the 1980s when pagers, also known as beepers, became popular, so much so that they were banned in schools. The pager evolved fast, and two-way pagers soon entered the market, becoming essential celebrity accessories, albeit for a short period before the cell phone finally emerged, sending the pager back to the hospitals where they originally were used. Number 10. Freedom from mobile phones. The emergence of smartphones has denied people the ability to be present in the moment. It's unsurprising to see people busy using their phones instead of concentrating during meetings or intimate conversations today. In the 1980s, people were fully attentive and present without the interference of a mobile phone. The constant connectivity and omnipresent nature of the smartphone have made it a distraction that cuts across nearly every facet of daily life. Undeniably, these devices offer unique access to information and convenience. However, they interrupt our ability to fully engage with the world and eliminate the aspect of personal connection that existed in the 1980s. The 1980s are a clear reminder of when there were fewer distractions and people paid undivided attention. Number 11. Calling Collect. Calling Collect was popular, especially for people who needed to communicate with their loved ones over long distances without attracting immediate charges. The caller would place a call, but the recipient would pay for it. This method was useful when the caller could not afford the call, or during emergencies when payphones were the main means of public communication. But the recipient had to agree to pay for the call before the caller would be connected. Generation X and the millennials consider necessity and urgency appropriate words to define this communication method. Calling Collect was often used by travelers or students to keep their loved ones posted about their well-being without incurring any expense. Number 12. Acquiring videos and music on tape. VHS tapes and cassettes represent a time when a physical copy of a movie or music was a cherished possession. Movie and music enthusiasts would anxiously await the release of new films and albums, often visiting stores to secure their copies on the release day. Technological advancements and innovation have eliminated that tangible affiliation with media. Today, streaming services provide instant access to diverse content that doesn't require physical storage. What's more, you can watch from anywhere on any smart device. While streaming services are affordable, convenient, and offer instant viewing, this dynamic shift can change how consumers value and interact with their music and movie collections. Number 13. Hitting the television for enhanced reception. If you've never hit your television to improve its reception, you're missing out on the fun times of the 1980s. There was a certain excitement that came with the simple act of physically adjusting your television set. But in hindsight, that act was quite humorous. Back in the 1980s, owning a TV set was a luxury in itself. And even when you had one, you had to make do with consistently fiddling the antenna or slapping the television occasionally to awaken ghosting images and prevent fuzzy screens. As memorable as those moments were, they have since been overtaken by technological advancements and the emergence of smart television sets. The world today has adopted digital television technology with stable signals and clear images. The transition from analog to digital broadcast technology has improved sound and picture quality. So, viewers no longer have to physically hit their TVs to enhance their viewing experience. Number 14. Using portable CD players and cassettes. Who thought one day we'd no longer be using portable CD players and cassettes? These devices were once fundamental partners for music fanatics in the 1980s, offering personalized soundtracks for workouts, daily commutes, and leisurely activities. Users had to carry their music collections everywhere they went. You would have seen them curating their favorite mixtapes and saving them in CDs or cassettes. While these portable devices gave users a tangible and personal connection with music, times have since changed. As technology evolved, the world transitioned to the digital era, and more advanced devices emerged. Still, changing CDs or flipping tapes using a pen remains a sentimental memory that demonstrates the art of intentional interaction with music. Number 15. Driving without a seatbelt. In the 1980s, drivers and passengers could easily get away with driving or riding in a car without fastening their seatbelts. Seatbelts became more popular after vehicle manufacturers started developing advanced belts that provided enhanced protection in case of an accident. Today, driving without fastening a seatbelt is deemed as recklessly endangering one's life, and more people understand the importance of preventative road safety measures. Public safety drives and legislative changes have successfully implemented the practice of buckling immediately upon entering the car, which has vastly reduced the risk of severe injuries in accidents. Number 16. Mall culture. Malls played a crucial role in teen life in the 1980s. They were gathering places for young people to symbolize their independence. Friends and family would converge in malls to catch up, sample food, and browse the latest hit songs at the music stores. So popular were shopping malls that in 1986, Consumer Reports named them among the top 50 most revolutionary consumer innovations of the time. However, the advent of digital technology changed how people interact with shopping malls. Today, unlimited online shopping options are more convenient, even though they lack the physical and communal vibe that the 1980s malls had. Number 17. Shoulder pads. In the 1980s, shoulder pads were as omnipresent in fashion as neon colors. Designers saw the possibility of using the pads to reform the female body, creating a smaller appearance along the waist and transforming bad posture. However, controversy arose when some blouses designed to have pads were sold without them, forcing buyers to incur an additional expense to ensure the clothes didn't sag. Still, shoulder pads remained relevant for the better part of the 1980s, thanks to the influence of celebrities. While they are still used occasionally, they are not as popular as in the 1980s. Number 18. Rubik's Cubes. Puzzle and gaming enthusiasts enjoyed solving the Rubik's Cube challenge in the 1980s, so much so that university students started a computer bulletin board dubbed Cube Lovers. Fans could discuss their passion for the game while sharing tricks and tips for solving it. The popularity of Rubik's Cube is said to have been a pop culture phenomenon back then. Nothing gave people satisfaction than aligning the colors. While the Rubik's Cube is still existing, modern gaming apps have emerged, nearly knocking it out of the industry as more people give it a wide berth. Still, it remains a famed symbol of the 1980s. Number 19. Rotary phones. The popularity of rotary phones rose tremendously in the 1980s, ruling the communications industry for years. To dial a number, users had to insert their finger in the required number slot and rotate it until they hit the stopper and heard a soft clicking noise. Upon removing the finger, the dial would return to the starting position, allowing users to input the next number. Often, dialing 0 took the longest to complete. Rotary phones lacked the redial function, and users had to dial the entire number every time they needed to use the phone, making it inconvenient. If you were born in the early 1990s, chances are that you have never experienced the rotary phone. Smartphones with speed dials and touchscreens have sent rotary phones out of the market. Number 20. MTV. If you've never heard of MTV, you're missing out on the fun the millennials had throughout the 1980s. MTV was an innovative platform where young people could interact with music and nurture their creativity. Today, mentioning MTV, especially in the presence of Gen Zs, sounds comical, even though it was the ideal cultural phenomenon of the 80s. It showcased popular music videos, impacted how musicians expressed themselves, and displayed the importance of their appearance and image. You're probably wondering what necessitated the fall of MTV. Well, the emergence of reality TV in the 1990s and the internet were the reason we no longer watch MTV. Number 21. Atari Game Console. Atari was the inaugural system that allowed video fanatics to bring the arcade into their living rooms. Gamers could connect it to their TV sets and swap games by changing cartridges. Its emergence sparked a revolution in the gaming industry, resulting in aggressive competition and price battles in the home computer and game console markets. While people hardly use Atari anymore, it remains a progressive technology for the 1980s kids who enjoyed challenging their family members and friends to a thumb-tapping skills contest. According to Nintendo's president in the late 1980s, Atari's popularity faded because its original developers allowed third-party developers excess freedom, leading to the rise of rubbish games in the industry. There you have them, the 21 things that were popular in the 1980s, whose popularity has since faded. Do you have anything to add? Please tell us in the comments below. Like the video, and remember to share it with your friends and loved ones. Oh, and subscribe to our channel too. Remember, subscribing is absolutely free.